Tunisians formed the largest number of foreign fighters traveling to join ISIL in Syria and Iraq, with 6,000 of them answering ISIL's recruitment call since 2011. That's according to security consultancy the Soufan Group, and most of them are from 3 recruiting hotbeds in the North African country. Our UN correspondent Li Tan has the details.
Over the last 5 years, as many as 31,000 people from at least 86 countries have traveled to Syria and Iraq to join ISIL, despite efforts to contain the numbers, according to a report by New York-based security intelligence firm the Soufan Group. Now, of that total figure, Tunisians formed the largest group of foreign fighters. The report found that 6,000 Tunisians, including 700 women, answered ISIL's call in the past 5 years. That's 1 in 5 of all ISIL foreign fighters. And more than a third of these Tunisian fighters are from 3 main ISIL recruiting hubs: Ben Gadan, Bizet and Tunis, according to the report. Now, Ben Gadan in the south and Bizet in the north have a long history of producing foreign fighters, and the country's capital, Tunis, has increasingly become a hot spot for recruitment, despite being the cradle of the Arab Spring. Now, this report also warned that returning foreign fighters pose a particular threat to stability in these home countries, especially for fragile states like Tunisia. It also noted that the majority of foreign fighters are from Arab countries within both the Middle East and the Maghreb region in North Africa. Now, as of last October, Morocco's official estimate was 1,200, but the number is believed to be higher. There are also an estimated 170 Algerian and 600 Libyan foreign fighters, but these figures were based on limited data. And given ISIL's growing presence in Libya, it seems to have become more of a destination for foreign fighters instead of a departure point. It's also been a transit hub for those traveling to and from Syria and Iraq. Now, for countries within the Horn of Africa, there was limited data, but there have been reports as well of dozens of Somalians, Sudanese and Eritreans engaged in Syria. Li Tan, CCTV, New York.
Let's get more now on this. CCTV's Youssef Geji is live for us in Tunis. Youssef, those are some big numbers, 6,000 ISIL recruits from Tunisia alone. What are authorities there saying about this?
Well, here the government is extremely concerned by these figures and by the number of people joining these organizations to fight, particularly in Libya and Syria. And they know that they will eventually come back to Tunisia at one point, and that's causing major concerns here. The Tunisian law is very clear when it comes to this. These people have participated in an unconventional war abroad, and they can be charged under Tunisian law. And that's what the government has been trying to do. But also from a security standpoint, the government has been systematically arresting people who are coming back from certain countries like Iraq, Syria, and Turkey, Libya, and they are interrogated in the airport. And if proven that they participated in any of the fighting abroad, then they will be taken to court. Also, the government is even stopping people leaving the country, and they suspect that they are going to join the fighting in Libya or in Syria. They are also arrested and taken to court. But there is no effort to actually try to reintegrate these people, and that's the main problem, because these people find themselves engaged in a war that they may eventually regret at some point, but they have no option but to continue fighting. There is no exit door for them. And here, a lot of civil society organizations are saying, let's open an exit door for those who want to come back and reintegrate peacefully in Tunisia.
But Youssef, why have towns such as Ben Gadan become such prime hotspots for ISIL recruitments?
Well, there is no clear answer to this, but it's a combination of factors that led to this situation. Ben Gadan in particular is along the border with Libya, and this is an area that for decades lived off the informal economy, in particularly smuggling and goods between Libya and Tunisia. But with the ongoing war in Libya, their business has been hit really hard, and they are losing major incomes from trade, and therefore a lot of people are finding themselves unemployed. They have not much to do. Some of them had hopes that this revolution will give them alternatives in a new beginning, but they are disillusioned. And so that led to a lot of people joining the ranks of the fighters. However, generally speaking about Tunisia, there is also an issue right after the revolution. Security forces pulled out from different parts of Tunisia. Certain departments in the intelligence services were shut down because of their collaboration with the dictatorship before 2011. And that security vacuum basically left room for different organizations like Ansar Sharia, for instance, which is very active in the war in Libya. It left room for them to recruit and go preach openly in the streets and try to get people to join their ranks. And the Tunisian government actually started treating these people differently after the US embassy attack in Tunis, and as the situation got more dangerous in Tunisia, then they started reacting and stopping these people from recruiting here.
All right, Youssef Gage, you left there in Tunis. Youssef, I want to put you on hold. I'll be coming back to you in just a moment. Let's first go to Egypt, where the army says it has killed 60 Islamic militants in northern Sinai, where armed forces have been battling fighters affiliated with the ISIL group for 2 years. The army spokesperson said that anti-terrorism forces, backed by fighter jets, targeted terrorist hideouts, killing 60 militants and injuring 40 others, adding that 27 4x4 trucks and 32 weapon depots were destroyed. The renewed offensive comes days after 15 policemen were killed in that same region when militants attacked a checkpoint using mortar as well. Let's now bring in Adel Mahroui. He's live for us from the Egyptian capital, Cairo. Of course, Youssef still with us from Tunis. Let's begin with you, Adel. Significant gains there claimed by Egypt's army. What more do we know about that operation?
Well, it's part of a months-long operation called the Martyrs' Right, an extreme offensive the Egyptian armed forces have launched in at least 2 previous phases, starting by the end of last year and continuing to up until today, as we've heard. It's mainly a part of a strategic offensive that the Egyptian military is holding against all militant groups and possible cells being held inside the North Sinai region. As you said, the numbers seems to be quite impressive. 60 killed and 40 injured. That's beside what they have discovered from hiding checkpoints or hiding shelters for the militants, as well as explosive reservoirs inside the Sinai itself. The Egyptian army has been intensifying its presence there with such operations, using some jet fighters, but mainly depending on Apache helicopters to give it more accessibility over the Sinai itself, which is, of course, as you noted, on a very critical geographical location within the borders, on the borders with Israel as well, and the Palestinian Gaza, which make the maneuvers there quite tricky to have the complete authority without breaching the borders of the other countries. So it's still ongoing. Even up until now, we have heard some few reports that there are still operations and explosions heard from the attacks of the army against the militants there.
Youssef, this recent report has highlighted Libya as a major transit hub for foreign fighters going to and from Syria. So how is that being viewed there in Tunisia?
Well, Libya has become, over the past 5 years, a major source of concern for the Tunisian government and for Tunisians in general. Libya has been in the past major trading partner, and thus it's been, a source of revenue for Tunisia, but now it has become a source of threats for Tunisia. The expansion of these groups in Libya has affected Tunisia in different ways. First, there is a large number of Libyans who have come to Tunisia and now are living here because they couldn't stay in Libya anymore. But also there is danger from smuggling networks and these networks can be used in order for ISIL to conduct operations in Tunisia to either transport people or transport weapons here in Tunisia. So this has become a central problem in Tunisia. We know that the three major attacks that happened in Tunisia in 2015 were related to Libya one way or the other. The recent attacks in Ben Gurdan were very close to Libya as well. So Tunisia has tried in the past to be very neutral when it comes to the problems in Libya and to the different factions fighting for power in Libya. But now it is finding itself in a position where it has to step in order to protect itself.
Adel, let me come to you. The international community has been seeking a political solution to the crisis in Libya to enable a consolidated fight against ISIL there. So where does the process stand now? And is there confidence there in Cairo that it is still viable to await a political solution before engaging militarily?
No, Egypt believes that both should take place at the same time. They believe that reaching a political solution between the rival Libyan factions and using or supporting the internationally recognized or the attempts from the United Nations to create an internationally recognized government, to use these as political efforts so that Libyans would move on together. But at the same time, Egypt believes that quick interventions should be made with the assistance or with the support mainly and coordination with the Libyan government, to attack the terrorist cells inside the countries and limit the progress of the Islamic States and other militant groups inside Libya. So Egypt does not believe it should be one way or the other. It believes that two ways in parallel should be going on. And the reason for that is that the arms ban or arms embargo that has been imposed on the internationally recognized Libyan government is making the government, from an Egyptian perspective, limited in its capabilities to stand against the spreading influence of these militant groups. So Egypt is saying either we should coordinate and try to limit this progress, or at the same time lift the embargo, give the Libyan army and the Libyan internationally recognized government the capabilities and weapons that would make it keen and able to stand to its responsibilities and stop that spread from spreading, not just inside Libya, but of course across the neighboring countries in the African Sahara and also to South Europe. So it is a big threat that Egypt believes should be countered by both political solutions for the sake of the Libyan people and some military operations against the terrorist groups.
All right, Adel Mahri live in Cairo, Yusuf Geji in Tunisia. Thank you both for joining us.